Easy E. How are
Johnny.
I
I have to
mean,
say, Sean, I'm not happy. I had to get one of those brain tickling COVID tests.
oh,
Yeah, I'm not happy. Well, it's not. I've no symptoms or anything. Fully vaccinated. I have to get it for work. I'm traveling with work, and the place where we're going requires you to have a negative PCR on top of all the others. And I was just like, I thought I was done with this.
Instead of, I mean, right now we're recording this on Saturday afternoon, so instead of having like a barrel of water up your nose going for a swim and stuff, you had that fucking big thing stuck up your nose and both
Yeah,
nostrils instead.
yeah. How the tables have turned on the day. All right, it's just yeah. Look, start the show. We'll crack into it. I'm not waiting.
No, I want to build into this. I mean, you had like 2 full weeks, 2, 3, 4 weeks of training, and you were going like 6, 7 days at it because you were the last time we talked. Obviously, we were talking last week because of the wedding, but you were in a bit of pressure trying to catch up for this whole triathlon event, the first one of the year, and then with less than 2 weeks ago, it gets pulled because let's say it was definitely road closures and nothing else.
Yeah, it was. It's really annoying. Like I was cruising. I was. Now I was worried about the swim and whatever else, but I was doing well, and the fitness was coming up, cardiovascularly coming up. The body was holding on for dear life, but I was actually fairly confident with momentum I had going into it. I probably would have beaten my time from my first year I did it because
Yeah.
I knew what I was getting into and I knew where I was, and it's just how heartbreaking. Like it's finally, I'm like, okay, I'll knuckle down for 5 weeks or 6 weeks it was until this, and then yeah, road closures. Yeah, I have a lot to give out about. I do. I have a lot to give out about. Let's start the show and DJ spin that shit and we'll get warmed up here now.
Okay, guys, on Eric's thought of him probably getting his best ever result in the triathlon and not getting there, we're going straight into today's intro of the Any Given Monday podcast. So you probably would have got it in, and since we can't really keep bringing up events because every time we bring up an event, one was supposed to do an event over the last 18 months, it has gotten cancelled. So for those of you listening in, it looks like the Run Galway Bay is going to go ahead, but I promise neither myself or Eric will sign up to it because if we do, it won't go ahead. The Kilkenny one recently got cancelled, the half marathon one me and you have done before, but none of us has ever done the Run Galway Bay. So hopefully for those of you listening doing that goes ahead. And before we start, those of you this weekend, or probably you're listening on Monday, over the past weekend, did the Kerry Ultra, obviously down in Kerry. Unbelievable effort on that one. I think it was a 60k, 90k, and a 200k run. Some people are after doing this weekend down in Kerry. Unbelievable. But today, since Eric, you're all riled up and stuff like that, I wasn't too sure what to talk about since we can't talk about events. So I did a little bit of Googling and I came up with five to six controversial running topics. That's all I put into Google, controversial running topics. And these couple of things came up. So, they might be controversial. We might just agree with them. We're not going to get too controversial on it or too politically incorrect or anything like that. But came up with a couple of things, have a little back and forth, see how it goes. We might just agree on everything, and that might be a very dull and mundane show, but then again, it may not. And speaking of, just in case it is a dull and mundane show, we do have, we've said this before, we've had competitions before, but not like this. We have a hell of a competition coming up for you guys, but we're not going to tell you about it until the end of the podcast. So you got to get through these next couple minutes with myself and Eric. So,
hold on, before I start. Who in their right mind, like a couple of 100 to 1,000, maybe even 2,000 people are going to a Athy to do a triathlon? Who in either the council or whatever else decides we're gonna close the road or do major works? I don't know whether it was closed beforehand or whether they didn't work enough to get it done. But my God, you're just out of a pandemic. Local businesses are struggling. You have an event bringing so many people over 2 days to do an event, revenue to the area, all the stewards, all the gigs, all the DJ, the music, whatever else that comes with it. and then the road is closed, so you can't do the triathlon. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. It is absolutely Irish at its very best. Like, it's I have to say,
but we always do it. Well, I mean, I working
bad.
out in a gym. What's gonna say in Kildare? People know what it is, but I'm not gonna mention anyway. And last year they dug up all the roads at pretty much the start of September when school's now coming back, and it was an absolute nightmare to get through the village. And they did the exact same thing again this year. Like 3 different parts of the village in one go. Just turned it up. June, July, August. Nah, not a hope. Summer holidays, man. Not happening. But once it starts to get busy and stuff around the area again, dig up the roads, make life more fun. So it's happening up and down the country, not just in Athy, but
Like,
it's good to see people busy back at work.
These same people, oh no, feck them, no. These same people are the very ones that tell you, oh, you can't build a standalone house out there in the country because, you know, we need to really plan how we do towns, and we need to plan all this stuff, all this planning, and a board planola and county council planning board. And then they shaft local commerce because of a bad plan. Oh my God. Well, anyway, any councillors listening to me there, fucking sort your lives out. This is I'm absolutely disgusted. You know, like, there's been so many events we've tried to do, Seán, and I was confident. I wasn't going to be superb at it, but the training was good. But I do feel the frustration. I understand why people are not training. I understand why people are just, for some reason, just giving up. They're already looking at Christmas and going, sure, look, we'll pick it up again in January. Like, it's so difficult. It is so difficult. It's been a massive rant out of me, but yeah, I can't understand it. Now, maybe I'm being harsh on the councils. Maybe it's an organisation or the organisers' problem. They didn't look into it, and I know the event is usually in June, and we're now looking at it in September. So I don't know. Maybe there was something there, but it's just another kick for a lot of people. A lot of people were looking forward to that. A lot of people trying to do the first triathlon as well. We had speaking and reaching out to us, and it was just, it's just unfortunate. But hopefully, I'm not going to mention the event I'm doing for fear it's cancelled, but my eyes are now moving to May of next year. Won't be in Ireland, but yeah, it's that's where the focus is now switching, and we'll be putting it onto the Instagram, and the training plans will kick in place, and people can follow along if they so wish.
No. We will try. We'll try and move on. Hopefully, there's no road closures, no road works wherever you're doing it in May. But there's loads of time.
It's not in Ireland, so probably it'll be fine. So
long-winded with this question, just to annoy you even more. So, I've heard Bill Burr talk before about PEDs in sports, and he's like, just load them up with PEDs, or everyone's on an even playing field in there. Now, obviously, you put it like that, it's like, that doesn't sound a good idea. But there's this book out there called The Sports Gene.
I'm guessing PED is
performance-enhancing drugs.
Okay.
So basically, performance-enhancing drugs for events. I mean, especially since we're talking about running. I mean, the Olympics back in, was it 88 with Carl Johnson and all them? Could be wrong on that. Whereas it turned out like everyone was on PEDs back then doing the 100-meter sprint. Anyway, there's this book called The Sports Gene where they talk about how, different people have different advantages anyway, no matter what we do. So like there's 3 different lessons you can take from the book. So like, for example, you may be born with the body type to do a swimmer. Like Michael Phelps has feet like fucking flippers, not flippers. Help me out here.
Yeah. Go on.
Do things back your feet. Flipper, yeah. And like if you're a basketball player, if you're like under 6'6", you're probably not gonna be a basketball player. You got there's an advantage there in that respect. According to this book, sometimes endurance and motivation is also genetic factors that can influence how much you can how good you can get at sports. Doesn't really seem like a gene, but seeing how you're brought up, your brain makeup can help in that department, and that's going to put some people at an advantage. And then other people, we've talked before about this, like altitude training, parts of the world you're living in. Some places like a lot of Africans do very well in running events because of their running environment, so they're genetically superior. So I thought I'd kick off this straight away with should there be more PEDs in sports? They could put people more on an even playing field.
I think Tommy Tiernan, this is one of his skits a few years ago, saying we should have the drug Olympics, jack everyone up and let them come out. They'll look like they have Parkinson's walking to the start line. They'd be rattling before the start. But yeah, I think Tommy Tiernan had that skit. But should they be allowed? I don't know. I think no. No is when you're looking at something like the Olympics, I think it's very hard to go, if we let everyone have it, because then there is that chemically enhanced edge. Like some people have all the different kind of advantages of training elsewhere, but every kind of Olympic committee or Olympic team knows that. Like Irish athletes are training in Spain, they're training in wherever else, they're going to the heat, they're going to the altitude, they're matching everyone else that's doing this. Okay, born in Galway, they don't necessarily have the same advantage as someone born in Denver, Colorado, and doing their training in the athletics club there all their life, so
yeah.
But I think when you add in a chemical, it's then which is the best Pfizer, which is the best, manufacturing company. It's same as the Nike runners over, if you had to strip it down to the bare bones and the bare athlete, that's sport. That is sport. And it wouldn't be as fun as a spectator to go, they're after having that in them, they're after having this in them. However, if you take an athlete who is possibly saying, look, do you know what, I'm coming to the end of my career, I'm kind of want to step away from the official Olympics or the official kind of running a track circuit, whatever, and I want to compete against other people to see how far we can push our bodies, that's a documentary. It's not necessarily sport, but I would pay money to watch what happened. I think that's how I feel about it. So yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I mean, if everyone's on an even playing field, it'd be similar to the Formula One, would it not, with the cars and stuff. Look, I couldn't agree to it, to be totally honest with you, because I'm like the last Boy Scout in terms of stuff that's gone to my body, apart from a ton of whiskey over the years. But I don't know if I could agree to it. But I understand having that even playing field. I just think it's too hard to build up to that even playing field. But I do think people find ways of changing the system. Like a lot of people, they have intentionally having their testosterone lower so they can build, like when they get tested. So in some sports, they can get their testosterone up because with different levels of testosterone. So I do think people are trying to make the system. But the real reason I asked that question was because it switches to the next part about having advantages and stuff. And we have touched on this before. It's the Nike Vaporflies types of runners. So if you're able to have an even playing field here, should we build up so everyone has carbon plated footwear? Just for people who didn't listen to that podcast, it was over a year and a half ago, just some quick things with the Nike Vaporflies. They are carbon plated runner, so they have like a certain amount of millimeters plate in the runners to help people go faster. They have been proven to help decrease marathon times by up to 4%. So back in 2019, when we had all the marathons going before COVID and all that, out of the 36 podium finishes in the big six marathon runs, 31 to 36 were ran with people wearing the Nike Vaporflies. Paula Radcliffe and Eliud Kipchoge both set world records in the marathon, as well as Kipchoge's under 2 hour marathon where he did it at his own thing. So some people are like, well, that's an advantage. What's the difference between putting PEDs in your runners than putting PEDs into the body?
Well, I suppose a pair of runners is €180. So you can get a pair of runners. Everyone can wear the runners. But when you go into the research and development of a drug and how it interacts with different individuals, should take the COVID vaccine, like how differently it reacts to every different person. Like you are putting something inside your body that is reacting with your internal organs, with your internal makeup. You can't guarantee an even playing field because everybody is molecularly like so different. So with a pair of shoes, they can be made from a factory all the same. So, you can guarantee a standard of equality in the shoe if everyone's wearing the same shoe. You can't guarantee that if me and you get a dose of something, it might react totally different to both of us.
I'm still not paying €250 to wear a pair of Nikes to run around the roads around here, getting destroyed in a couple of sessions. So and a lot of people that's I mean, for myself included, that's a lot of money. So for like with money changes that playing field again. For some people, they have all the best doctors and all the best training and stuff and all the rest, and that's why they're not even playing. That's why it changed the playing field for one compared to the other. So I think no matter what, you're not going to get an even playing field in that situation
No,
with
it
things.
is.
So
Yeah, it is. It is hard, but at the same time, like 4%, when you're comparing them against athletes, they're all going to kind of wear them. When you look at the marathon, like all of them had the same shoes on, like so. So now it's kind
yeah,
of back to who's just a better athlete, like, and then there becomes the theory on the day of how they run their race. Like, okay, well, he has his Vaporflies on, but can he go this fast this early? Like so. There is still the
yeah,
sporting element there. There is still the game plans of other athletes that kind of scare and get in the heads of other athletes, particularly over the longer distance. And the marathons in the Tokyo Olympics were actually great to watch because it was younger athletes that were pushing the more experienced ones and pushing them in places that they were probably like, oh, this doesn't happen this early usually, So world champions were falling back majorly because younger athletes had just gone for it in their first marathon, So there's that element to it. The shoes are only one element. Drugs, like you go back to even the cycling days when they were doing the blood doping. They were taking out blood and then putting themselves back with the more oxygenated blood. Like it's all it is all the same. But then the whole lot of them were doing it. So really, did anyone have an advantage? Like it was.
that goes back to the original point, then, doesn't it? If they're all doing it, then
Yeah.
but I don't know if they can test for. For example, like if they're all illegal substances and stuff like that, you can't really do that much research on them, on how much they're affecting each person and how much the dosage is, because it's all trial and error.
Yeah, definitely. But look, I think if I was an athlete performer at that level, I would hate to think of a country that had a bigger research and development budget than Ireland was competing against us in the Olympics. Like it's at least, if it's just us in singlets and shorts, I might have a chance, So I think for the good of sport, you kind of have to keep the chemicals out of it, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, that's why I just see the documentary Icarus talked about the Russian teams and the stuff behind the walls and all the rest, the fast things through, and they technically didn't have a representing the Olympics this year, even though their flag was the same. I think they had the same. Did they have the same national anthem when they won medals and stuff like that? Like it was
No,
still.
I don't think they played the national anthem for them. I'm not sure. I must look back on it. I actually never seen a Russian win anything. If that makes sense. I never.
Yeah. Wherever event you're watching.
Yeah. So I'm not sure. I know it was the Russian Olympic Committee or something, or OC as well. But I'm actually not sure what they played. I'm actually not sure because I don't think they can play the national anthem because they're not. I don't know. I'll look into that.
Yeah, so something I probably should have looked in before bringing it up right now in the podcast. But here we are. We'll move swiftly on. I suppose
people are probably listening in the car going, actually, did they? So we'll find out. We'll find out.
We'll find out. We'll move on. One of the when we go back to actually just running for people that can think about for themselves, their own training plan, is the topic of junk miles. So junk miles would be, is more miles always better than training plan? For example, should you just keep adding on the miles each and every week, like 40 miles, build to 50, build to 60, taking into account that you're building the right way? Is there a limit, or should you just keep trying adding on, or is quality of workouts better? So keeping that 40 miles, but you might start changing paces and different things like that. I had one opinion on this, but before we start doing this podcast, it's probably changed. But I'll let you go first.
Okay, well, the Russian national anthem was not played. They played classical music whenever they won gold. So yeah, whenever a Russian athlete won, they played classical music. Bit of Hans Zimmer there.
Yeah, they probably got something great.
Yeah. So to answer junk miles, I think there's a couple of different ways I'd look at this. Mileage definitely helps, but at what heart rate is where it's going for. Like if I'm running miles at 170 and 180 and 170 and 180, you're going to burn out. And in that case, too much miles is bad miles. Whereas if I'm able to maintain that heart rate lower, then obviously more time on the road is better. The endurance bracket is building, and then you're operating in a heart rate zone that allows you to train the next day as well. So to me, it comes down to what your body is reacting to what you're doing. So it's called putting miles in the legs, but to me, that's the old-fashioned way before we knew a lot about heart rate training, to say you're going low and slow, you're keeping your heart rate low, you're not going at a blistering pace, you're just putting miles into the legs. But in actual fact, you're training your heart rate, you're keeping it low, you're building your endurance zone. So yeah, is there junk miles? There's no such thing as a bad run. There's no such thing as a bad workout, in my own opinion. So if it gets people out and if they're feeling okay, then I don't think it's a bad. But if you're upping it to a point where you're starting to feel fatigued, you're now no longer sleeping right, you don't feel rested the next day, then you're starting to get into what I would consider junk miles, then that you're actually inhibiting your progress and you're causing yourself to regress in terms of your training ability and your capacities.
Yeah, I think it comes to a certain point where the miles, you're doing miles for sake of miles, where you could be doing cross training, you could be doing some work in the gym or different things like that, where that could benefit your run on the road. The heart rate is pretty much what I was thinking as well in that one, because my old thing was lower the miles but run as hard as you can, so you're getting great sessions in. Now obviously I've changed my opinion on that because I got so many injuries and running too much and too soon, and we've talked about that. We've pretty much hit that point a lot over the last couple of podcast episodes, and like all of them really, we've gone back to that. But yeah, I think sometimes, I mean, I don't think 7 days a week running is going to be necessarily a great deal unless you build up a long time overtime to that. And even still, I would rather max it out at 4 to 5 and then get the strength training in, and then just have your training plan. So your harder strength training sessions are on days where you're doing lighter runs, and then there's a bit of a gap between your lighter runs and your training. I know that's not always the case. I think for some people, if they're going to get it in a 2-hour session, they're going to do their strength training for the first 45 minutes and then hit the road for a run. And I do think you're going to lose elements of the benefits of both of those sessions, as opposed to if you did the run in the morning and the strength training. Even but that's not practical for everyone. So I suppose trying to get that balance, in my opinion, is a little bit better than none at all. But some people may argue that.
I am one that adds in the run at the end of my weight session, and I'm not going to argue with you on it, because when you do a weight session, you feel the pump, as they say. You feel bigger, you feel stronger. At that point, take on your protein and allow the extra calories to burn as your muscles are still screaming out for the nutrition to recover. I get on the treadmill, and by the time I'm off the treadmill, the pump is gone. I'm leaner looking, I've asked the body to go and do something else. And, when you work your upper body, say, for example, on a chest day, and I've worked it to its extreme, it is crying out for the attention it needs from the body. And then I go and put more exertion on it. So, but unfortunately, it was either I don't do it, but I said I'd go back doing the weights, but I kind of had to do it. It had to be done in the same period of time. But at the same time, for me, it's not about building big muscles. It was about building muscular endurance as well. So I'm going to have to do a swim and then go do a cycle and then go do a run. So for me, doing weights and then going for a 5K run and treadmill for 20 minutes, it's not too beyond the realms of what I'm going to continuously ask my body to do over the course of training. You're using your chest, your back, your shoulders, you're doing everything in the swim. Then you're on the bike, it's all legs, and then you're using the whole body for the run. So it's but the benefits of, I suppose, kind of localized strength training, localized injury prevention training, that is good to just take your time to do. Don't be fatigued, get it done, recover, then train. If you are a professional athlete and have all that time, absolutely. If you don't, you do it the same thing, your body will adapt. Your body will be able to do it. You will get used to it. Yeah, it is two different. That's my opinion on it. Ideally, in an ideal world, if people don't have kids, jobs, schools, demands, and you can train 3 times a day with a couple of hours and good nutrition in between each isolated session, then
Yeah.
it's brilliant. But until then, like, you just kind of have to accept you won't get the full gains. You're not going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger, and you're also not going to win a 400-meter sprint. But you can find that balance in between.
I think to your point, I find it easier to do a strength session and then the easy miles afterwards. But I mean, I never in a million years, not that I never in a million years, but I would like to think that I wouldn't, just because I wouldn't have the energy and the demands for it to do like a strength session and then start doing intervals. I probably wouldn't have the headspace to do it because it's just so off-putting to have 2 insane sessions. But I think one of the reasons that, to your point, having the strength session first is because it's more demanding, it's more risk of injury, whereas as the easy runs, you can slow it down, working your heart rate, and your heart rate determines how hard it's going to be. Whereas if you're in the gym, you know you want to hit a certain weight that you may have hit before. You're not always going to have a PB session every session, but you want to hit certain weights and stuff. And there's different external forces that would dictate that session, whereas you could just go heart rate, and if you're slower that day because you did a hard workout before that, then you're slower that day, but you're still putting the miles in the legs, as opposed to, you know, getting a run in, all of a sudden you just feel dead dog tired, and you're lifting light, a lot lighter than you should have, that you normally would have in the gym, and you're just going to feel like crap because of it. Whereas the run's a run. Once you get 5 miles in, the goals get 5 miles in, whereas the goals change in the gym. Switching on from that, and I think I know your answer on this one already because I think it's how you feel. The importance of stretching and how much you really do before and after.
Genuinely, I've gotten a lot better at it.
Have you?
Yeah. I'm at that point now where I just have to grow up and just, if I want to be in this game long, I have to start looking after myself now. And I was re-listening to David Goggins' book in the car, the audiobook. I was just listening to it again and realizing how mad he is for the second time. But he talks about his injuries, and his muscles was that he never stretched, and it was like stretching iron. You know, it was just absolute agony and pain. And to be honest, I don't want to get to that stage. I want to be able to continue this for a very long period of time and look after the body. So I've actually started to get sports massages off one of our guys who usually does work with us, Renan. So I try and get one of them every 2 weeks, and there's no point in spending money on getting these massages if I'm not going to stretch in the meantime. But it's made a phenomenal difference. And maybe, look, call it placebo, call it whatever you want, but as long as you feel good, then it's the right thing for you. But my recoveries have been a hell of a lot better. Sleeping a lot better. I don't have the same kind of, the way you get pains in your necks and shoulders and the build up of tension. Don't really have them anymore because I'm staying on top of it. And it's actually just really nice to be in that state where any niggles are kind of getting nipped in the bud, because the muscles are then getting massaged out, they're being stretched, and I'm doing my single leg squats and stuff to make sure everything is firing the way I want it to be. So yeah, it's something I've very much changed. I have to take it serious. And I'm very big on the stretching, especially I'm finding it after the bike, because I'd be fairly tired. So what I do is, part of the routine, I put my bottle between my legs, and then I just sit with my legs spread around the bottle, and I just start at the toes and just breathe and just practice breathing. It's kind of like a yoga pose, but it kind of is like, right, just relax, focus on the deep breathing. And then it was similar to the podcast we did a few weeks ago. I sit up straight and I kind of stick my fingers into the muscles, into the stomach. And then I lower myself down again, and I breathe and relax. And eventually I just kind of embrace the sweat that's on me at the time. And it's kind of nice. It's kind of a nice way to end it. And I think stretching is a mentality. I think we're always doing this whole, I need to go here, I need to do this, I have 45 minutes to do that. If you have 45 minutes to do your workout, do a 35-minute workout, and take 10 minutes to appreciate what you've done, and stretch and relax and let yourself come down to a nice level, take on water. And it adds to the experience of working out. It really does. Workout, again, stops becoming a chore, becomes the meditation, So I have been a lot better, a hell of a lot better than I've ever been. And even in work and lulls and work, I'll kind of sit onto my heels with my feet flat and trying to open up the space in my hips and stuff. It's a really big thing for me because most of my time is spent sitting down or strapped into something, so opening up the hips and the hammies is a very important thing for longevity and everything. Longevity in the career and in trying to keep into the sports.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the breathing, the resets and stuff like that. The complete I say that, but yesterday I went for a 12K run. I picked the most hilliest of routes I could do. And I was just about through the whole thing. And I had a look at my time. I was like, something wrong with that time. I'm not too sure what it is. And I looked at the phone to see what the actual time was. I'm like, oh, I was supposed to be leaving the house in 15 minutes. And I'm a good 5 minutes away from the house. So I got showered and all cleaned up. And I got back to the house and they're like, where the hell are you? I'm like, oh, I took a wrong turn going for a run, went left or went right, whatever. I made up an excuse. Had me shower, cleaned up, threw a pair of jeans, a t-shirt on me, and out the door I went. And by the time I got out of the car, like pick someone up and drive somewhere else, went to the Manor actually. We went for a gig last night. By the time I got out of the car 45 minutes later and I actually calmed down, the body temperature came back down. One, I wasn't taking a hang out jacket, so it was pretty cold. But two, more importantly, I was just stiff and sore. Like my hips were just in bits. It was like literally just a case of not slowing down at the end, getting that reset, getting that bit of relaxing stuff. And I can talk about how there's not many studies for stretching and different things like that have proven to actually work. But to your point, you just get to relax at the end of a run, reset, take it all in, get your breathing work in, get a few stretches in, and you feel better. And when I do it at the end of long runs, I do feel better. The problem is when I get to a long run, I'm like, oh, thank God, and I get a drink and I just get a shower, and then I'm sitting down like a half hour later, I'm like, didn't stretch. I feel pretty stiff and sore now. And I feel stiff and sore for a day if I don't do it. So that's just on my end. To wrap it up, something that myself and yourself probably won't have to deal with for quite a while. At what age should children start taking sport particularly seriously? And there's two things to this. Tiger Woods grew up with a golf club in his hand. I think we can all agree that he's one of the best golfers of all time. The other case of it is a lot of people will burn out. And obviously, I don't have too many examples of that because they burnt out before they got professional level. But we know people in our own walks of life that were like mad into this sport, just lived and breathed the sport. And they got to a certain age and just burnt out or weren't as good as they thought they could have been for a load of different reasons. But we do have some examples. And I suppose one of them is, there's a lot of them in American football, but a lot of people won't get the reference. But one of them in tennis was Bjorn Borg, who was like a teenage sensation in tennis, and he won a couple of women and stuff like that, but he retired at the age of 26. So that was due to burnout. And then he tried to come back 4 years later, and it just didn't work out for him, as well as the standard he had set. So with all that said, let's say you got a kid in a couple of years and they're 6-7 years old, they're really getting to run, they're really doing well. What do you do with that kid? The two options would be I'll just go ahead and a chance to put words.
For me, I have thought about it, and
Jesus,
I suppose, yeah, I did, because it's actually, we're looking at kids with skateboarding talent that are winning gold medals in the Olympics at 12 years of age or 13 years of age. But I think for me, it's a case of I'm going to throw them into everything. I'm going to put them into swimming, gymnastics, football, hurling, whatever they want. And let them try as much sports as they want. While they have all that energy to burn, off you go, try this. And then it's a case of which one do you like? Because if they don't like it, there's no point in forcing them to do it. That's when I think parents are kind of forcing their dream onto kids. And you can also look at the likes of David Beckham. David Beckham's dad was quite harsh on him and drilling him in the back garden. But now look how much he's worth, and he's had a phenomenal career, and he has a phenomenal talent. But because of the external pressure, but like that, there's a lot more of I'd say probably, I'll throw a figure on it, 80% of those stories don't actually work out too well for the person. 20% maybe do. I suppose Tiger Woods is very lucky in the sense, from a young age, probably had a big back garden in the United States. Off you go with your golf club in the back, and just, it's not exactly, up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go swimming for 2 hours and then going to school and whatever. I'm not taking away from what it is, but it's I suppose it depends on the demand of the sport. If you're looking at yourself as a rugby player, realistically, all those hits, you're not going to have a very long career. So
yeah,
you you need to kind of make as much money as you can, in the space you can. Okay, you have phenomenal athletes like Ronaldo, who's come back, still making money for himself and is still worth a fortune because he is the ultimate athlete professional. Everything about his life is about the sport, his nutrition, everything else, So I don't know. I think for me, it's let them try as much as they want and develop their natural abilities for anything they do in life. I think everything is good. I think gymnastics be good for their balance and their fear of heights and everything else, So swimming, I think, is a vital skill for everyone to have, at least be able to tread water. Right. So they'll be doing that. And then whatever field sports they want to do or horse riding, whatever it is, to give it all a go. And then whatever they really, really like, kids are very honest. So they'll say, like even my nephew's 7 and I was like, oh, he does the football and hurling. They do both while they're in this kind of junior age. And he's like, oh, I don't really like the football one. I like the one with the sticks. I'm like, yeah, okay. So he's already more interested in one than the other. So would you force him to play football? Probably not. He doesn't really like it, So but it's, for me, it's a case of throw them into everything. And then the more stuff you throw them into, they actually become more of a rounded athlete as well.
Yes.
You're developing all their muscles, you're developing all their skills. If they're swimming, they're learning to control their breathing. If they're on horses, they're learning about their balance. So you're not actually doing a bad justice to them. And then when they reach their proper developmental years, then as they enter into their teens, and when, let's be honest, most sport prodigies start to shine, then you just let them do what they like, I suppose, and try and support them. I think be the taxi driver to all of these events and whatever else. But that would be my intake, and it was kind of how it was with sport with me. We were thrown into everything, and then we tended to be better. For me, it was the soccer, and in fairness to my dad, he brought me to all the training sessions all over Dublin and this, that and the other, and dropped me when I was 16, League of Ireland, dropped me to the bus to get drive to Cork, to sit on a bench, to come back and get on a bus and go home and be in school all week, So it's slightly different. It is, but I think let them try it all, find out what they like and what they're good at. And what they're good at might necessarily be what they like, but as long as they're happy, that's all you can do, really, I suppose, as a parent. But I wouldn't be one to be pushing them or trying to make them be a triathlon world champion just because maybe I would have liked them to be in a second life. But you can't do that to them. You can't do it, in my opinion.
The way you answer that, it makes it very, very hard to argue against. So I won't. It's been a long podcast, so I won't. With that said, we'll go straight on, I suppose. I don't know if you want to talk about this, because you know a little bit more about it than I do at the moment. The big competition we have for everyone that's coming up over the next week or so.
No, I'll let you talk about it.
Great, well, I get your text up, so I'm going to refer to the text.
I knew I'd catch you with that one. But I do just to finish on that point while you're getting up the text. I think if you have a parent who is involved in a sport, so you look at Peter Schmeichel, goalkeeper, his son, Kasper Schmeichel, famous goalkeeper now, they do have an advantage because you have a parent who's in the know, and that whole thing of monkey see, monkey do, when you see someone doing all of this stuff and you have the advantage and you're starting to get some of the knowledge in the back garden ahead of the other kids, you're going to have an advantage, and hopefully your skill sets and your talents develop to match the advantage you've had. It'll be absolutely amazing. It would be brilliant. But the last point, I suppose, on that is what I will do is I will still be involved in sport because I know a few of us talked about was I want to be that role model in their life. That exercise is really important, and exercise is something we all do together, and exercise is the most important part of your day, and no matter what it is, and I think if you do that, then you've set them on a good path to be involved in sport, or whatever the case may be. Now, if they want to make millions playing Minecraft and YouTube and look after me in retirement, I equally don't mind. It doesn't bother me, but so that's all I have to say about that there now.
Right. Fair enough, fair enough. We'll move on since I almost have everything together. So we've teamed up with on Instagram at designs_by_SD. So our good friend Sinead, and she has put up some pretty cool things on her Instagram story. Any given the training day, water bottles and bags and different things like that. And through her Instagram page, we are running a competition, couple of different prizes. So it is September, like Eric talked about, being role models, getting back into different things, and with the I suppose the summer, we've had a good time over the summer. We've had a few beers, we've had a few gigs or whatever. Kids are back at school. Like we just talked about kids there a second ago. It's time to get back into our training, getting towards the winter miles for summer smiles, as we've said before. So we've got 3 giveaways, and it's through Sinead's page. We will have it tagged on the Instagram stories in case you didn't catch what I just said there a second ago. So the first prize, there's going to be a feel-good package valued at €160. So we will have a 6-week training plan for you to kickstart September that will start in the next couple of weeks. We'll be getting in touch with people who win this competition. So we'll have a 6-week training plan. Plus, you get your any given training day bag and water bottle. And along with that, Sinead has also created a perfect party pack, she calls, to celebrate the end of the 6 weeks. This thing I love. I want to enter the competition myself for these things. So she has 6 best-selling handcrafted cocktails from the Irish Cocktail Company. That's at Irish Cocktail Company on Instagram in 200 milliliter bottles. She has 2 personalized jam jar cocktail glasses. Those alone, I just skip the 6 weeks for me. I'm going straight to the end of 6 weeks for that. A neon party light, reusable, eco-friendly, color-changing straws, personalized cocktail jug with reusable ice cubes, and a shaker and accessories. I want the ice cubes. We all never have ice cubes in this house. Every time, like, we need to get reusable ice cubes, and we always forget about getting them. So that prize alone is pretty cool. But through her page, we've also got 2 other pretty cool prizes. And the second one, valued at €90, is the 6-week training plan, plus your any given training day bag and bottle. And then you also get 2 personalized summer champagne flutes. Oh, that's pretty cool. Third prize, valued at €60, is a 4-week yoga training plan through any given training day. We talked about yoga a couple of podcast episodes ago, so that's a pretty cool one to check back, listen to, and we'll go from there.
That's the yoga with our new yoga instructor Jill. So her yoga classes are kicking off now, back to school, so they'll be advertised online as well. So it comes in 4-week blocks, the yoga is back, and it can be done from the comfort of your own home. So we're giving away that as well to try and encourage people to get into yoga.
Unreal. And with that, you're getting your any given training day bag and water bottle. That's on our Instagram stories at the moment. It is pretty cool. And that's what you get with third prize. So to enter this competition, the rules are simple, as Sinead says in the post. You got to make sure you're following at designs_by_SD. That will be in the notes of this podcast. And of course, following us at any given training day. Don't forget to tag your friends below and tag Sinead in the stories as well.
Yeah, the key one is
over 18s only.
You have to be following. Yeah, over 18s. The cocktails. Imagine all these new child prodigies. We get them hooked on cocktails. Anyway,
training plan gone.
But so it's you have to follow both pages, like and share. But once you're following both pages, you are in with a chance to win.
Yeah, we will probably the winner will be announced on September 11th. So that's this Saturday coming. This is an easy day to remember.
Yeah, I don't know why though.
With that said, guys, I think we'll wrap up this week's episode of the Any Given Day podcast. Unless Eric, you've got anything else to add?
No, that's me.
Thank you very much for listening. That's it from myself and Eric. Take care.
Bye.